Why, hello, my loves. Welcome back to Cancel Weekly. As always, we're joined by Candice, Gerard. I'm Mickey. Today on Cancel Weekly, we have Taylor Swift rapping. We have child predators beaten. We have Eva Mendes on mothering. We have a father's approach to independence. We have Jordan Peterson gooning. But first, we have a lioness mother. All this and more on Cancel Weekly.
Says in Ezekiel 19:2, "What a lioness was your mother among lions." The enemy hates children because they are a true gift from God. The enemy hates mothers because Eve is created mother of the living. It's mother who gives birth to Jesus. Because if the enemy can convince a single woman that children are a burden, he stops her from becoming a lioness. One less woman transformed by birth. One less woman set on fire to save her children. One less lioness raising up her cubs to be strong young lions. God invites us daughters in Ezekiel 19:2 to awaken the sleeping lioness inside each of us and rise as the courageous mothers God called us to be. There is no love as fearless, fierce, and forever as a mother's protection. In Jesus' name, the enemy cannot have my marriage, my family, or my womb. My marriage is not a burden. My children are not a burden. Any work the Lord has given me is a blessing and inheritance from Him.
So yeah, I funk with that. I love that. I like that. What do you guys think?
I wanted to share that one because I see so many women, especially young women, that are terrified of what comes on the other side of becoming a mom, becoming a parent, becoming a wife, growing up. And maybe it's not unique to women. I think it's probably unique to like millennials and Gen Zs, but this clinging on to adolescence and youth and being so scared of the other side. And I don't know what that's about or how we have kind of we have these generations that have been brainwashed, because there is something so powerful on the other side of all of that responsibility. And when you become a mom, I always say it is like this transcendent spiritual awakening. Like there is you before you had kids and there's you after, like the process of labor and delivery and mothering in general. It is like it's such a privilege.
Interesting. Yeah, I know my wife and I were having a kid soon, and I know she gets a little nervous sometimes about it, and I think it's because I'm less nervous, but I'm not much of a nervous type, but I think it's it's intelligence of knowing that something different's gonna happen. There's gonna be this new responsibility and all that stuff. But I'd like to hear you speak to that more on why all the beauty. I believe kind of what you're saying. I've like myself, that's what I've kind of believed there's going to be. There's going to be a whole new life. You're going to love something more than, you've ever loved anything. It's got to be such a beautiful thing. But speak to that. Speak to the differences.
I mean, the whole thing. So I feel like when you start the labor and delivery, especially, and I say especially if it's unmedicated, but this is even for cesareans. This is the whole thing.
The oxytocin?
Well, there's
They say that's the biggest if you do it without drugs, it's the biggest oxytocin of your whole life, having a baby.
Perhaps, but like you're not, it's more than that, because you're not thinking neurochemistry while you're in it. It's almost like you have this out-of-body experience, and now you are in this collective of all women and mamas that have done this before, and almost like this initiation into a very divine and important role. The most important thing you'll ever do is raise kids and raise them well. I don't care how big your business is. I don't care how famous you get or how wealthy you get. Like the most important thing, the biggest change you can make on this planet, and probably even further out, is to raise kids well and to do it with love. And I think once you hold your baby and like you see them grow and you see them develop, it's like this love that you didn't know was possible, and that can be terrifying. So sometimes I feel like you can create like these walls or these boundaries or busyness or fear or all of these other things to try to it goes back to finding ways to not let love in, because it is so powerful. And I do think when you see all of this, what is it called when you make people like the anti-kid group?
Like depopulation, are you
Yeah,
talking about?
no,
Like, are you talking Anti-kid group?
Antinatal, or what's it called? There's a phrase for it. Maybe the
Democrats?
Maybe the comment section will know. But it's this idea of making people scared of having kids, or like the doom and gloom and overpopulation, and I think it's antinatal, something like that.
Yeah, the anti-humanists, I've heard them described as
antinatalists. Okay, so yeah, there seems to be an evil, dark agenda against that, because you really step into yourself when you become a parent, and especially I think a mother, because there's this like ferocity that comes with it, and we have this idea that women are supposed to just be like soft and playful, and it's like, no, they're a hurricane too, and there's like nothing more fierce than a woman protecting her baby.
Well, there's a big reason, like, so that is at the center of the quote-unquote conspiracy, is about why the global elites would want depopulation, and it's most single people don't really care. Like, I don't care. Like, we're going to raise taxes 5%. Oh, that sucks. And we're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it's like, oh, that sucks. But, whatever. It doesn't really affect me. But if it starts affecting your children, or if you're starting to think like, man, this could have a real adverse effect on my kids. And you saw that with the vid. It wasn't until they started closing down the schools and affecting the kids and saying, hey, we're not coming back to school until we renegotiate our contract, where everybody was like, okay, it's time to open this stuff back up. The selflessness and the impetus of a lot of, the actual fighting. A lot of the hand-wringing and the arguments will happen amongst, like, the single people, but it's the actual people who care about their children and their grandchildren that are actually willing to stand up against what they think is wrong. They won't go along with it. But I do think it's important for people to recognize 7 minutes into the show how good the two of you look in this episode. My God. Mickey's got, like, you're looking clean right now, like a 90s jumpsuit right here. And Candice, this is as good as you've ever looked on this show. My God, what's going on here? I feel like I'm bringing it down here, guys. You guys are crushing it over here. Wow. Anyway, continue.
Thanks, G. I've heard people telling me about what it's like to, to prepare to be a father and stuff. They said, I'll share a few of those with you. They said the first time your heart is going to exist outside of your body. They said when they had their kids, they never loved their parents as much because they realized the love that their parents had for them. You didn't feel that one? You didn't get that one?
That one, I'll go after you finish yours, but no, not as much.
And just that, you can never imagine the type of love you'd have for something than when you have your kid.
Yeah, and I guess where my example would come in is everyone has different thresholds or capabilities of love, right? It's how open and vulnerable you're willing to be. Like you're only as available to love and receiving as vulnerable as you're willing to be with somebody. And then there's also issues of mental health and things of that nature that get in the way. So that's why I say, like, there's nothing more important than raising a kid and raising them well, because you can have a kid and that doesn't really make you a mother. That doesn't make you a father. A cow does that, right?
Sure.
And there's nothing really divine, in my opinion, about a cow giving birth. So
coming for the Hindus there.
I was going to say Hindus would disagree. But.
Well, I'm not Hindi, so... But I think it's intentionality, and it's always trying to strive to be better and never accepting where you're at, and knowing that those kids deserve the best version of you, and to never stop to try to get to that. And you're never going to be. Like, everyone is going to mess up. Everyone is going to fall short. You're going to be like, I wish I didn't do that. Can we just, move forward? And I promise you I'm going to be 1% better tomorrow, and that's all you can do.
Well, the cliche is it's anybody can have a kid, not everybody can be a parent. Those are two different things, right? Anybody can get somebody pregnant, but sometimes the person that got your mother pregnant isn't your father. In that regard, like it's a very special thing to take on that responsibility, as you're talking about, and do the best you can. This life is hard enough for just any one of us trying to live it, but then when you have to take other people's literal well-being into account, where if you don't do the job by your 3-year-old kid, they're not going to make it. That cow will probably make it in the wild. That cow is pre-cooked with whatever instincts it needs, that by a couple months in, it's on autopilot until it finds its way into the
Bugs day one.
Bugs day one.
Bugs day one. They don't need any parenting.
I mean,
us humans, we're kind of the lowest of it. Like, it takes us at least like 7 years
to what?
8 years?
Die?
Yeah. To be able to, like,
longer, right?
but I bet like a kid could survive on the streets about 8, 9, 10 years old.
You think so?
If a special kid who's like had to come up hard and whatever. But like, think about it. For a kid, what do you think that number is? It ain't 18.
12.
12, you think?
There was like a little boy, I want to say he was 5, and he got lost in the woods for 3 days. And they found him, and he was exactly as you would expect a little one to be once you find him, like disheveled, torn clothes, the whole thing. And I guess his dad was an outdoorsman, so he was able to find water, find shelter, navigate, try to find a house. It was really impressive. But I think when it comes to like especially if you have a boy, like how long until you can kind of leave them and they're not going to die, it's like about 4. Maybe 3.5, 4.
See, that's not so bad, folks. You don't need to be in for all 18 years. Just 4, and then they're good.
Well, also, it's temperament, too. So my oldest is very risk-averse. I'm probably going to be eating my words with my second, and I'm going to be like, it's 17.
That kind of seems to be how it works. The oldest has, like, a healthy fear, and then the younger one, like, they see, like, oh, this guy's all right.
Fearless.
And they're
fearless.
Yeah, and they're usually a lot more reckless.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Everybody's
I'm still early
all right until they're not.
Yeah. Got a little bit of Taylor Swift rapping.
You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss a chance to love. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. Don't you never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss a chance to love. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
Not a shaboozy.
Yeah, I think she really thought she was killing that.
That was kind of my thinking.
I think she thought she was killing that. I think for a little bit of the chorus was okay. Most I was like, nah, dog. That was super pitchy for me, dog.
It's not gonna be an OV, dog. Do you think? So has this ever happened to you guys? Love karaoke, right? Mm-hmm. But I sing a song in the shower. I'm like, yo, I'm fucking killing this song. I got this song, and then I'll go do it in karaoke, and I'm just like, oh, this mic must be wrong, man. I'm not. Something's going on here.
The acoustics in here is not correct.
Yeah.
I'm painfully aware of how awful I am at all times.
Yeah.
Sheets of empty canvas. Untouched sheets of clay.
Oh, wait. I got an idea, guys. Let's go around, and you have to do your absolute best. Be dead serious. No joking around like how you were just
wait.
putting a little.
That was me being serious, buddy.
No. I need you to be more serious.
That was me being serious.
I need you to be more serious. Huh?
What?
Yeah, that wasn't serious. I'm saying we're going to go around, and we're going to pick a song, and we're going to sing a cappella, dead-ass serious.
That was me being serious.
I know, but you were doing like the Creed or the kind of like the wait on wide open. Like if I were to sing Creed, I can't sing it like that. I got to sing it in my voice.
That makes no sense what you're saying.
Let me show you how it's done. Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues. In the middle of the pouring rain. W.C. Handy, won't you look down over me? Yeah, I got a first class ticket, but I'm as blue as a boy can be. And now I'm walking in Memphis.
Walking in Memphis.
I'm spectating. I'm the audience.
Yeah, I mean, we were all supposed to spectate.
Oh, sorry. I
But
felt
that's
the music
right.
come about me. I felt the music come over me.
All right, man. If it's cool that if I had that
a lot
effect
of
on you
rules
guys.
since he usurped the hosting chair here. A lot of rules.
I would like one of you guys to pick any song of your choice you guys like in the world, and just go ahead and do your darndest and try and sing your ass off right now.
I'm going to need 3 shots of tequila and an audience.
Gee, what you got for us,
I
dog?
sang already, and then you and Christian completely destroyed my creative heart by saying that it wasn't serious when I was so serious.
All right, let's try again. Pick a song, buddy.
Oh, that was my jam.
Okay.
Don't pick Firm, Christian.
No,
if
no,
you
no,
want to
no.
sing, you can sing.
Baby, why you calling me so late? It's really hard to talk right now. Baby, why you...
See how you're doing this voice? It annoys me.
Oh.
And you are breaking the rules.
Oh, okay. Well, then fuck your game. Next.
All right. We'll keep this show moving right along. Here's a child
Don't
predator
sing it the
getting
way
beat.
I want it sung.
You gotta
Make me
be
a
dead ass
bicycle
serious.
clown.
That's what makes it hard.
No, do it again. This time the way I like it.
Nah, a comedian can't be vulnerable.
Hey, sir. You thought you were meeting a 13-year-old boy tonight? Don't grab my phone. Why'd you gonna meet a 13-year-old? Why were you gonna meet a 13-year-old boy? This man was trying to meet a 13-year-old boy for sex. This guy was trying to meet a 13-year-old boy for sex.
I don't know who you are.
What city we in? Albany?
Stop fucking hitting me.
The boy was trying
I
to meet a
wasn't to meet nobody.
What?
So I like this clip because, you know, we have good friends, our friends Scrappy and Ryan Montgomery, who are, you know, doing these things to protect the kids. Was it 561 PC? Is their thing, and they do these things where, you know, they use a decoy who pretends to be, you know, a young girl or a young boy, and instead of that, when that person will go meet at the supermarket, it's them, shows up, put the videos. I mean, I like how these guys are smacking the shit out of this guy, but you can't, like, because we've talked to Scrappy and Ryan about it, and that, like, you know, Scrappy's an MMA fighter. He can beat the shit out of these guys if he wants, but you can't, because he can't really keep doing this legally. But it's nice that there's some vigilantes going out there and doing it, you know.
I don't think it is. I disagree with you.
Why?
Because, one, even the worst amongst us are entitled to due process. Those aren't cops. That's not judge. That's not jury. Okay? Two, if that guy really did that, then everything that they have is now inadmissible. That guy's going to walk. And he's probably going to get them in trouble, sue them. That guy might end up going there to meet a 13-year-old kid and walk out of there with money from Walmart and money from these guys, and those guys get hemmed up. I think finding these people out, and I think infiltrating these people, and I think getting them on camera, all good. You start hitting people, you start assaulting people. What if they're wrong? We have no idea. We have no clue if they're right. We're just assuming.
We don't know. We gotta assume.
And especially
they know that right as that guy sees the camera, he puts his head down and starts walking away. He knows what he was fucking doing.
There's no way that we can know that. And then especially with the way internet culture is, prank culture, these things get millions of views. Now these kids are running around with a camera in Walmart going, "This guy's here to meet a 13-year-old kid." This guy, and it's just a rando.
Just anybody.
Yeah, and then somebody walks into the parking lot and offs himself. Like, no, this is not the way to do it. I am in no way defending pedophiles, but this is not the way to do it at all. Somebody like Scrappy, what people don't understand, what's so hard about what Scrappy does is that he has the confidence to restrain himself from physically assaulting these guys, and he talks to them in a way, if you watch his videos, it's really, really brilliant the way he handles them psychologically. He comes at them, but he gets them to admit what they're doing. He makes them remain calm. He doesn't escalate the situation. He doesn't scare them off, and he waits for the police to arrive.
Right,
what
he's
these guys
for the cops, and that's 561 PC. If
yeah,
you guys want to check them out on Instagram or whatever. It's 561 PC. That's Ryan Montgomery and Scrappy MMA.
I'm sure these guys' heart is in the right place, and I'm sure that they think what they're doing is right. And I'm sure they're frustrated by how long and how inefficient our process is with defending these kids, which we learned about.
Well, that's something. Yeah, Ryan and Scrappy were telling us just how
take months, and they have this evidence and information.
561 PC.
Yeah.
That's Scrappy and Ryan's thing.
Yeah. So.
Well, I hear what you're saying, that it might not be the best way. It does feel good to watch these pieces of shit get bitch slapped. It feels a little righteous. You know what I mean?
If it's one of them. If
right.
it's one.
So
of them.
is it, if this was always my question back with the To Catch a Predator, because that was kind of the first person doing it. Is it illegal just to set up the meeting? So if you have evidence that it is sexually charged, or like that's the intention, and then just showing up to the location, is that enough to get this person charged?
It's a good question. I think I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I think so, because I think they've gotten people, you know, in trouble, but I don't think
endangerment of a minor, public endangerment,
something like that. And like they have the you know, the transcript of the dialogue between them, you know, and I think that's kind of incriminating, especially when I'm talking about, you know, certain things like talking sexually.
So do they get charged with
I don't think
being
they-
a sexual offender?
I don't think they get nearly as bad as they should get.
Okay.
I don't think.
I think it's a misdemeanor.
I think it's. Yeah. I think.
But if you
But at the same time, but if they.
and you pee within 200 yards of a school, you have to register as a sex offender. Like if you're drunk at night walking by and you get like urinating in public, you have
That cop must have it in for you, to hem you up like that.
So that's the thing, right? And this is the problem I feel like with this video. We have, as a society, completely lost our faith and trust in our criminal justice system. Cops are too subjective about who they arrest, who they don't arrest. The prosecutors and the district attorneys are too subjective on what they prosecute and what they don't prosecute. So people get frustrated and they say, justice will never be served. I have to go serve the justice. We had systems in place for this. People were supposed to be accused. Then the accused had their day in court to defend themselves. And then they were judged by a jury of their peers. This vigilantism is born out of frustration, but it will end in the wrong person being wrongfully accused and lives being ruined because of it.
Right.
So, I think this escalation is a bad thing, not a good thing.
So you think when you see people doing what Scrappy and Ryan do, that worries you, or just the getting physical there?
It does worry me because what Scrappy and Ryan do led to this. And what this will lead to 2 other guys that are hammerheads that don't know shit, that aren't as trained as Ryan and aren't as, mature as Scrappy. And they'll see that this is getting tens of millions of views and they'll become the next predator hunters. And then, like what happens in all things entertainment, when they can't find a predator, they'll create one. That's what I believe. Because they're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think you find an organization that you vet and you leave it to the professionals.
Well, even a guy like James O'Keefe, which is not doing this with the predators, but he's got these girls swiping right and going on dates with these guys, getting guys liquored up, and then having them give these industry secrets on secret camera, and you sit here and you're like, well, I like it because these secrets need to be told, and I like that Disney's getting exposed, and I like that Pfizer's getting exposed. But then you're also sitting here like, can a guy just not date?
Yeah, but so you talk about legality and respecting the process and law, but that in a lot of states you have one-party consent, so all of that is technically above board.
If you're swiping right and you decide to go on a date, it is what it is.
In North Carolina, for example, they're one of the single-party consent states, and I'm sure Florida is as well. It's if I know that I'm recording at any given time, that's all that I legally need. Like, you don't need to know. No one else needs to consent but myself.
Even if it's in private, not
Yeah.
public? I understand public is public
private.
domain.
Nope,
There's
private.
nothing public whatsoever.
If in private, single-party consent.
Really?
Yes.
Anybody can record you
Depends
at any
on
time,
the
and
state.
it's admissible?
Yes. Depends on the state, but I know North Carolina is single-party consent.
Can you look up, Christian, how many states are single-party consent? Because, that's fucking terrifying. That means anybody can be recording you at any time, and it's completely admissible? Mm-hmm. That's because
because
ridiculous.
it's kind of like if it's private property, by you both being there, the person that doesn't own said property was invited there. So it's also be careful who you invite into your space.
38 states.
Yes, sir.
So you're in a locker room bullshitting with your boys, and some asshole's recording. And even though it's a private club and a private locker room and you never consented.
Well, private clubs can have their own rules for the establishment, so it would have to be visible that there are no recording devices allowed. So, for example, at a certain country club, it can say, like, no cell phones in the locker room, no cell phones in the gym. That's their right as a private establishment, but that plaque has to be visible.
Huh. Well, that's terrifying.
Indeed it is. Here's Eva Mendes on mothering.
When I was 40, it was a big deal for people when I was pregnant, and it wasn't for me. And then I was 42, and I was pregnant with my second one, and people were like, oh my God, you're gonna be so tired. That's why people have kids in their 20s. I was like, that's the most, asinine thing I've ever heard. Like, what? And by the way, it takes more patience. In my 20s, I shouldn't even been around a child. I was just like foul-mouthed and smoking, and anyway, so definitely I could not have raised kids in any other era of my life, but now. for sure. I'm so grateful that I was able to stay home. I guess because I was older, I knew that I was like, well, my kids are gonna be little once, and whatever I do or don't do right now is gonna affect them the rest of their life. And I don't know, I didn't feel that as pressure at the time, I just felt it as clarity. I mean, I'm so grateful of that because I know there's many women that want to stay home and aren't able to. And my mom was one of those women. She figured it out, but that was hard when I was little. But when I had her home with me, that was invaluable, invaluable. So that was an easy decision for me. You know, your career comes and goes, and really, you know, but kids, yeah, that was easy for me.
So it sounds like she's kind of making the push to have kids later, for people to have kids later. Kind of, you know,
I
be a
think
proponent of that?
she's saying don't take it off the table, and where this made me like her so much more. You see a lot of the trad content, and I guess anything kind of really right.
Say trad, like
trad,
traditional?
Yeah. They're telling these young women to have babies at 20, 21, and that is so stupid. Everyone is so different. Their path to maturity and being at a place where they are going to be a responsible
I saw
parent.
Tucker Carlson saying that he was like, have kids in high school. Just have kids.
He said in high school?
Yeah. He was like, in high school, whatever. Yeah.
His thing was kind of like, you figure it out. Like
Yeah,
nobody,
like
nobody
you'll
can
make
be
it.
a man until they have a kid. It doesn't matter what age. You have a kid, everything changes, and you man up and
Hopefully.
you find purpose.
There's a lot of men that's not true. There's a lot of women that's not true.
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
It depends on when for you that is the right decision. And I know so many people, including myself. I mean, I had my first at 30, and then my second, I think I was 33. So that's late in this trad community, but there's no ways. I totally agree with her. I would have been a terrible mother in my 20s. Like, I just wasn't developmentally ready to be a mom yet.
Do you think that the same way you said earlier in the first clip, the lioness one, do you think you would have shifted had you had your kids younger?
I have no idea.
It's hard to imagine
Yeah.
any other path than the one you actually took, huh?
I think you need, like, you need to kind of have yourself together a little bit. Like, if you're dysfunctional, if you're living a life that is not going to be welcoming to kids. I mean, I was still shooting, I was traveling the world, like that. There's just no way for me that would have been a good idea.
Now, isn't it harder for people to have kids the older they get for women?
So yes, this is true, but also we are telling women that your fertility drops off a cliff at 35, and that is the average. But if you also look at the average American, it's something like 80% of them are overweight or obese and have multiple chronic pre-existing
These
conditions.
35-year-olds that
Everyone
fertility drops off?
Yeah. So we say 35, but that's also assuming that you are normal in this other category. So if you look at someone like me or someone like your wife, that doesn't we don't fall in the normal category of a normal American woman, right? Like, we're both in much better health. So what your biological age is going to be different case by case. And Dave Asprey talks about this because he's big in the biohacking space. His ex-wife had their children into her 40s. You can do all of these other things to make your fertility youthful, and it's going to be different. Like, you can't look at me and a woman that's 300 pounds and smokes 3 packs a day and
compare
say
you
we're the
guys apples
same.
to apples,
It's not the
yeah.
same. Yeah.
Okay. You say something, G.
Yeah, well, the unfortunate truth is that Eva Mendes is able to find somebody that wants to have kids with her at 40. You're able to find somebody that wants to have kids with you at 40. Not to be a dick, but that's also not the norm. It's not just about the biological capability of being able to do it. She is one of the most attractive people on earth. And the truth of the matter is, most women, you know, are just not as attractive at 40 as they are at 25.
So good.
Yeah, she's a little done up, but
I didn't notice.
So I remember she used to be like, I remember, like,
was
she was
noticeable,
very
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
I found it.
But yeah, that's and it's an unfair fact, but it's just the truth. It's easy for a 40-something-year-old man to find an attractive 25-year-old woman that wants to have babies.
False. So false. So you're using the example that you just used against Eva. You're assuming everyone's Brad Pitt or George Clooney.
No, I'm
The
not.
average 40-year-old man is not attractive to the average 20-something-year-old girl. Absolutely not.
I would
Unless
say
he-
it's much more attractive
No.
for financial security. Absolutely.
The average
there's
man
a ton of
he doesn't make enough money to be taking her to like Louis or these 5-star restaurants. Like the
You
average.
think every 25-year-old woman is looking for Louis or 5-star
I think
restaurants?
any
They're
25
paying rent for the first
I
time
think
in their
any
life.
25-year-old girl that is going to be sleeping with a man twice her age is looking for some kind of exchange. 100%. They're not doing it
disagree.
because they're attracted to him or love him.
There's a lot of people that are dating maybe not twice their age, but a 30. Let's say a 32-year-old woman.
Mm-hmm.
A 32-year-old woman has no problem having a kid with a 40-year-old man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A 32-year-old man is probably highly unlikely to have a kid with a 40-year-old woman. Is that fair? Is that a fair statement?
I would agree with that
The 40-year-old
statement.
woman's going to be with someone closer to her age or older.
Sure. Now you're talking about a completely different scenario. Now, again, you talked about the degradation of the man's sperm at 60 years old. Now you're talking 60-year-old with a 40-year-old
But if
woman.
she's 30, then she's getting a guy in his 40s. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with anything. I'm talking about having the kids later in life. You already talked about the biological component of it, and then I'm talking about the sociological component of it, where you're not. And again, this sounds like fucking red pill, garbage, but this is just the truth. It's not the valued asset that it was 10, 15 years earlier. It's just
The
not.
pussy? Are we speaking of the pussy?
We're talking about that, and it is true. You'd rather have a woman that you don't need to worry about leaving your kid to go clubbing and shit. Like, I guarantee whoever had Casey Anthony's baby would have fucking rather had a 40-year-old woman for sure. I don't even know what the dad's name is. Nobody knows what the dad's name is, right? But that being said, there's just the reality of the situation. Eva Mendes could have a
So she's a
cavalcade
special
of
case,
men
you're saying.
wanting to knock her up at 40. So she had the privilege of waiting because she knew that there was no dearth of suitors.
Yeah.
I don't know if the average girl sitting around in Arkansas working at Starbucks has that option.
Well, I would think that if you are 40 and, haven't had that, your age range would probably be like a 50-year-old, 55-year-old male who's looking to still have kids.
40s or 50s, yeah.
You know what I mean? Someone higher, someone older. So the same thing where you're talking about a 40-year-old man, 25-year-old woman.
Correct. But weren't you just talking about how the degradation of sperm after 50?
I don't know
Yeah, it
about the
definitely-
degradation of sperm after 50.
For sure, but it goes
I
back
can't
to
speak to that.
the fertility of women, though, too, is there's a range. So it depends on the man as well. So if he's taking care of himself and doing supplements and working out and he's in shape, it's going to be different than like the average obese man. So if we are talking about averages, right, then of course, yeah, your fertility is probably not going to be there. That is true. But she's still a real person, and that's a real example. And there's a lot of real examples like that. So instead of saying this is just true for everyone, like a blank prescription, it's why don't we acknowledge the outliers too, though? Like that is her reality.
That's completely fair. Absolutely. And I also believe anybody should have the choice to do whatever they want. If you think you're better later in life, go for it. But acknowledge that she's a 1% attractive person, a 1% financially able person, right? Acknowledge that, that she has some extenuating circumstances that somebody watching this on their phone going, yeah, I'm going to wait, may not have. Make sure you're being honest in your self-evaluation. And also, there's the other part of it too, where it takes a lot of work as you get older to maintain that attractiveness. A lot more work. It takes you a lot more work as a 40-year-old to stay in the type of shape where you need to compete for mates than it does as a 20-year-old. A ton more work. So, and again, this is not to say that you can't do it. I agree with you 100%. But let's just acknowledge the reality of the situation. It's Eva Mendes we're talking about. This isn't some rando that we saw. Like, we didn't pick somebody that was, working in a taco stand outside of the fucking, clematis here. This is.
Yeah, but we're also assuming that everyone is like, you're constantly trading up partners based off of looks, and that the only thing a man is looking at is something like really superficial and shallow, maybe for a night, but that's not someone you want to have a child with.
There's only one thing men want, and it's disgusting.
If you go around, even in Miami, and you look at all of the couples that you're going to see, couples, not random hookups, you are going to see people that are objectively sexy in the middle, and you're like, wow, I guess they must really love each other. Do you know what I mean? So not everyone is going to get Eva Mendes. That's 100% true, but you are still going to get, like, what is available to you is going to be a different average. Like, we're talking about different averages. So not everyone is like, oh, I've got to get that hot 25-year-old. That's not available to most 40-year-old men. It's just not.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. We've had 2 mothering clips. Let's check out this father's clip. A dad's approach to independence. So I know the video for us was very small, but he was basically ignoring the kid as he's trying to get through these 3 ropes. The kid's calling for him, struggling a little bit, and he gets tangled in the ropes. Dad picks him up, puts him back on the wrong side of the ropes. Kid finally gets through. Dad turns around, claps for him, kind of rewarding his independence. Now I'm curious what you guys think about that, whether the father, is... it's a young age. It could be like kind of a isolated incident where it's, maybe pick your kid up over the ropes if you, whatever. But he let the kid figure it out for himself. Maybe, gain some confidence, be proud of himself. What do you guys think?
I think it was good. I think, you showed him the first time and then you have him do it himself the second time. I think is the right way to do it. I think, you never want to give your young kid the anxiety that dad's going to leave me, dad doesn't care, but also at the same time, you don't want to be a helicopter parent. It goes back to that kind of yin and yang we keep talking about, right? So I think he showed him how to get out the first time, showed him he was going to be okay, showed him he wasn't in existential danger, and then the second time I was like, okay, come on, do it yourself, buddy. And I think that was, and then rewarded him, and you saw how happy the kid was when he was, wiggling his butt to his dad.
He got to be proud of himself by accomplishing something himself.
Yeah, I think that was well done. But also, I don't know. I haven't read a single parenting book.
In the beginning of it, I felt a little bad for the kid when you heard him screaming and like kind of in distress for his dad. Yeah. But the dad stayed within sight. Yeah, he walked
a little
forward.
Far.
Yeah, but he was there, and I don't know exactly how I feel about it, but I was curious by your guys' opinions.
I think with kids, it's a really fine line between what is going to help them have self-confidence and feel like they're capable, and then what's pushing them too far. I would say personally that like that little kid's shriek when the dad had his back to him and was walking was probably, that was the kid saying like, this is out of my comfort zone. And
fair.
I think that means the dad went a little bit too far. I'm not averse to him like waiting and having his kid figure it out. I don't think it was necessary for him to turn his back and go the distance that he went. I would say like my critique would be that was pushing the boundaries a little bit. But with Montessori, the rule of thumb is you do exactly what you said, is you show them how to do whatever the activity is. or the puzzle is, and then you let them figure it out and you let them get comfortable with discomfort and frustration. And then this is the one thing that's a really big topic in parenting right now is praise. So when you do something like that and the child figures something out and you have this reaction, like you are validating this is good, that you're actually kind of wiring them for external validation. So you should wait for the kid to like be proud and do it for himself, and that he's not looking for, are you also happy about this thing? And I don't know, because I think praise is important, but you have to do it the right way. So I'm
heard
not sure.
in regards to praise, you want to praise effort.
Mm-hmm.
You want to like praise them like, wow, you like worked really hard at this.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, wow, you're so smart. Because then if they, they get something wrong, they're like, oh, am I not smart? Or they have to feel like they have to be smart. Different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So are you not a take the kid, throw him in the pool so they can learn how to swim type of person?
Well, I did ISR with both of my boys, and that is not for the faint of heart. But again, you have to make sure that their skills are available before you do something. Otherwise, it will backfire, full stop. And anyone that argues that, like, just wait, because you haven't obviously experienced it yourself, and you're going to when your kid gets older. So yes, always give them challenges. They need to be able to know that they're competent and capable, but it has to be within a range. Like, you can't exceed that threshold, otherwise they're going to shut down, and what you're actually trying to achieve is not going to happen. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that clip. I just said my only critique is I think he went a little bit too far, and that wasn't a necessary element of the child figuring it out. Like, I think the kid would have felt more supported and more safe had he been closer and facing him.
Do you think mothers train their kids the same way? You think a mother would walk away like that?
The mom was recording it, so she was right behind him.
Mm.
And it's not my job to be a father, and it's not a father's job to be a mother, but you do have to balance each other out. If you look at the outcome of kids, the kids that do the best are mom and dad. Not dad, not mom, but mom and dad. And you see kids that suffer when it's just too much dad and just too much mom. So to say, well, I'm the dad, let me father, I'm not going to take your opinion into account, that's the wrong way to do it. And it would be wrong if he did that to me as well. We're there to check each other as far as like what is probably best for the child.
That's why I think we should have two positions in American politics, not one president. I think we should have a president and a prime minister.
Mother and father? Mother
and father of the country. The mother focuses on domestic issues, and the father focuses on foreign affairs. It's my thing.
I like it. And I know you guys and all the audience at home thinks that the king of gooning is none other than Christian Perello, our producer.
King Goon!
But the real goon meister might be Jordan Peterson.
Whoa.
Roll that clip.
Gooning is an excellent practice, man. It's the opposite of edging and jelk maxing. I think it's a great thing to let your inner goon loose. And I think that you can allow yourself to edge max if you're respecting your goon.
Gooning is a way of life. But don't wait for the goon to come to you. You see, the difference between goon maxes and edge enjoyers is here. Let you become the goon. And once you embrace the goon, your jelk will never be the same.
What if I told you this would be the last goon session of your life? What if you got mogged this week? Would you complain about your little edge streak or that you don't want to rizz up? I doubt it. You would go much higher level thinking. You either die trying to edge or live long enough to goon.
Sometimes my edge feels like it's on the urge of a goon. And I can't lie, I get scared. But once I breach that jelk max and erupt that goon, it was all worth it.
I think the Theo clip was actually real. I think
could have been.
The other ones were AI, but I think Theo is just rocking the mic.
For the audience, I think we went over it on Slick and Thick, but I still have a very tenable grasp of
me.
what
Forget
this
the audience.
stuff is.
I don't know what half those words are.
So, Christian, could we go over number one, goon, edge, and jelk? And if you're knowledgeable in this,
I'm
these
only
vocabulary words,
knowledgeable
please.
because of Christian.
Oh, really? Christian's
King
educated
Goon.
you?
Yeah.
Hey, King Goon over there, what can you tell us?
Patient Zero,
I think
spreading
Candice
the goon
has
pandemic.
A great definition of goon. She can really articulate it. So I'll give her the goon. Jelking is basically like stretching your penis so it becomes
like pulling on it.
Yeah,
pulling
so it
your
becomes
pud
longer. We all know what edging is, but I'll let Candice.
But now,
explain
if you
goon.
pulled it and it became
I don't know
longer,
what
wouldn't
edging
it
is.
become thinner?
What is?
Or you stretch out your erectile tissue?
It's all about length.
Maybe you gotta jelk both ways. You're only thinking one way jelking. Maybe it's a two-dimensional jelk.
Oh, that was just jelk. All right, I'm
Yeah.
still just trying to absorb.
And
this.
edging is.
I think we don't all know what edging is.
Am I asking the question?
Okay, you keep
Sorry.
You're basically edging yourself, keeping yourself on the edge of a goon, basically.
What?
So the goon.
So does goon mean ejaculate?
No. So gooning, it's an altered state of consciousness, and it is when
Altered state of
it is
consciousness?
when a man becomes more cock than he is man. And the rest of the man ceases
I'm a
to
goon.
exist except for his raging cock.
Wait, say that last part again. He what?
The man ceases to exist except for his raging cock. He is less man.
It sounds like my 20s.
Less man and more cock energy.
I am less than a man, but I am more than a cock. Oh man! So then, okay.
It's like an ego death.
It's an ego. So edging is then getting yourself as close as you can and just still holding.
And holding in a bliss state.
But why did he say holding your goon?
I think they were using it independent. I think they were using it interchangeably.
Goon is like the transcendence.
So do you have to edge to
edging.
get to goon?
Yeah.
You have to edge to get to goon?
If you edge long enough, you become
And now
that
edging
energy.
isn't like
So it's like divinity,
jacking
it's
off
the
and getting
divine
close
state.
to coming
It's
but
like-
not doing it.
I think
You
it's
ascend.
like
You
Kundalini, kind
you
of.
edge it to ascend
Yeah.
to goon.
Gundalini.
So like imagine you have that feeling, right? Like root chakra area, and you have this buildup, and you feel it expanding, get bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually that energy is all consuming. So again, like there is no person.
Can women goon?
Yeah.
Have you
Really?
gooned?
Yeah, it's like a different version. I've talked about it. Like, so I think the female version of this would be called
It's when you're more clit than woman?
You are like all that exists is pussy. That's it. You disappear. It's a brief ego death, and this.
I just got wet.
In French, they call a climax. It's like the
little death.
The little death, right? It's the death of the self. So you really, gooning is really a spiritual experience. It really
Whoa.
is. So
You hear that, CP?
it's true. It's true. So the female version would be extended orgasm, and it's when you come to this space where you're gooning, not going over the edge, you're remaining right at that like blissful 9.9, and you can do that for over an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that like
It's
I
amazing.
just got the definition of all these words and I have no idea what the definition of these words are?
But you knew little death.
Oh yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah.
What is gyat?
Very well
What was
read.
a gyat?
A gyat?
Yeah. There was a word in there, gyat. You gyat the Riz. What's a gyat? G-Y-A-T, I'm gathering.
I'm thinking maybe he was just trying to say get.
So real quick, gooning is when you become more cock than man.
Yes.
Or in this
Edging
case, vagina.
is
right before you get to a.
so edging isn't like jacking off
finish.
and stopping right as you're about to.
No, you
bust?
maintain.
You maintain.
You maintain.
Okay,
So
and that's
for
how you
s-
kind of level up to goon.
Yeah, so some people like you'll go to like from a 5 to a 6, try to hold the 6. If that gets a little bit too much, you go back to a 5. Then try to go to a 7, and you slowly inch your way up till you're like right under climax, and you hold. And in that
Spartans, hold your position.
holding is where you would transition to a goon.
And then one more time, jelk.
I don't know that one.
Jelk.
Oh, the
like-
stretching.
yeah.
Stretching.
Oh, right. All right.
And gyat means just like a girl with a fat ass. It's
Oh.
an abbreviation for like goddamn, basically.
Gyat, damn.
Yeah, damn.
Gyat, damn. All right.
All right. Well, this has been very, very informative. I hope you guys are feeling as informed as we are. That's Candice. He's Gerard. I'm Mickey. Tune in next week for another episode of Cancel Weekly. Peace.